Hello and welcome. Fantastic to see you. Our first nuts and bolts of our video series for 2019. Fantastic to see you here, guys. Now, listen, I've got a really interesting session to share with you today. So this is all about you having to deal with an over-demanding boss. So I'm going to give you 8 tips and hints that you can do right now to help you deal with that really over-demanding boss. So let's have a bit of a chat about that. So, you know, everybody's job gets really demanding at times. That's just the way it is, with peaks and troughs and all those sorts of things. But what I'm talking about is somebody that is, you know, over the peaks and troughs. They're continuously demanding more of you. So what could it look like? Okay, so your work schedule. So you might be going in early or staying later, even if the volume of work doesn't really dictate that you do that, but that's almost like set an expectation of you. You might be asked to be doing extra reports. It might be weekly, daily, monthly, whatever, that's over and above the norm. And you don't even know if these reports get read at all. This is a boss that needs to improve every decision you make. So you don't get any sort of responsibility to be able to run your own tasks or projects or things like that, because they're forever wanting you to go and get their approval to do stuff. They also set really high standards on work deliveries or goals. So they might not give you enough resources or enough time or, you know, anything like that to be able for you to be able to be set up for success so that you can get those goals. And also you don't feel that they empathize or they understand what you're going through. So if you're going through this, if you're feeling quite overwhelmed because of this, then watch this and let me share with you the 8 tips that you can do right now to try and help you determine how you can work with that over-demanding boss. So I'm going to share my screen with you today. So bear with me here. And I've got some really great tips for you. So you will see me down in the bottom corner here. So I'm still with you. All right. So let's first talk about what causes a boss to be like that. You know, why does a boss have to be so over demanding? And there could be a number of reasons. So let's just go through a few of those. So, you know, you might have a bit of empathy for them. So, you know, they might have a desire to control everything. They might just be that controlling type personality. They might fear for his own or her own job status. So they might be under the pump from above. They might have high perfectionistic styles, which means that they are going to continuously want to be able to, you know, get the perfection that they can get. Or they have that sense of entitlement. So, you know, that's a tough one to overcome as well. So is it a personality issue that your boss might have? Are they dealing with pressure from above them that they feel like that they need to, you know, keep striving for even more? So they need to, you know, meet these certain objectives. So have a think about it. Read the room. Have a look at your boss. How do they act with their boss around? Do they act even more over demanding on you and having higher expectations? Because if that be the case, they might be under a lot of pressure too. And I'm not saying that that's okay, but it's something for you to just think about when you're going to put these other things in play. Is it a personality issue, which is a whole different story to if they feel pressure from above that they need to do this? So let's get into them now. So the first thing I want you to do is I don't want you to be the punching bag. Don't keep taking the punches and the hits and the kicks with a smile on your face. Don't be a martyr. You need to, you know, you need to ensure that you remember that your boss has invested in time and resources in you to get you to where you are. Okay, so it's going to take a lot of money to replace you. So if you were to put your hand up and say, okay, boss, I've got this priority, this priority, this priority, this priority. You just gave me this morning this priority. It's not humanly possible for me to get that all done. So we need to think about reprioritizing this. If you step up and have those really constructive conversations, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have a job in the morning, right? Because honestly, it's going to take them a lot of money to replace you. So it's not as if you know, if you speak up, that's it, you're going to be out the door tomorrow. So you don't want to be that punching bag. You want to be able to give yourself the room and entitlement to be able to go and have a really constructive conversation with your boss. Now, what I would say to you, and we're going to talk about that in a little while, but make sure you download the discussion planner from the Unlocking portal, because that will give you 10 minutes before the conversation or half an hour before the conversation. It'll allow you to sit down, work out what you want to say, how you want to say it, what you think the reactions are going to be, and what are going to be your counter reactions. Okay, so make sure you download that tool. It's really, really helpful in these sort of circumstances, especially when these conversations you feel could be confrontational. But you want to stop being the punching bag, okay, because it's only sustainable for so long, and then you're going to be absolutely fatigued, worn out, frustrated, and you're going to walk out the door yourself. And that's not fair, because you might be in a job that you really like, and you might be around people that you really, really like, and it's just this issue that we need to deal with. So make sure you start thinking about having that constructive conversation. So what's the other thing? This is where you gently confront your boss. So you've downloaded the tool, you've had a look through it, approach your boss in a really calm and professional manner. Be rational with what you're saying. I know you're frustrated. I know you're tired. I know that you've had enough. You need to take some deep breaths before you have this conversation, because your boss might be a total blind spot to them. They don't realize the impact that they have. So if you go in like a thunderbolt and bull in a china shop and start ranting and raving, it's not going to get you anything that you want. So use the discussion planner, keep this conversation on point, and make sure you jot down all the things that they're going to counter with, and then how are you going to respond to that. It'll just make you feel really, really prepared. So while you're in that conversation, I want you to listen to them and repeat back. So always make sure that you're listening and then repeat it back to clarify understanding, because sometimes you could be on this level or playing field and your boss is either down here or up here and you're never on the same page. So this is going to help you make sure that you're communicating together and you're both on the same page. So if you're unsure about anything, ask clarifying questions. Now, there's some good questions that you can ask from the 50 Miracle Question downloadable tool that you can download as well. But, think about those clarifying questions. So if he comes back to you and says, okay, this is a priority, we need this by Friday, before he walks off, you can say, okay, so what you're saying is I need to drop everything that I'm doing right now, work on this. You need it on your desk by Friday morning. And make sure you clarify those questions and ask if you don't know. If you're having meetings with your boss, make sure you repeat back the really important points so that, again, you're both on the same page, because sometimes what his perspective of that conversation and your perspective of that conversation can be different. So those clarifying questions gives you that clarity so that you know that you're both on the same page. So when you sit there and say, okay, boss, so I've got project XYZ, I've got task this, I've got to do the rosters, I've got absenteeism at the moment, so I'm trying to run around and get somebody, machine number 4 is broken down and you want this in by Friday. So when you say that, all of a sudden, when you rattle off all your expectations, she is being faced with those expectations, and they might not even have realized that you're doing this, and this. So it's really, really important that you're quite upfront with what you've got, but do it in a constructive manner. Do it in a non-threatening, try and keep your emotions controlled. And it's really, really hard. You're going to be emotional. You're going to be tired. You're going to be fatigued. You're going to be worn out. But the hint is here is try and manage those emotions for the time being until you get these conversations and get this flow happening. All right. So another thing that I want you to do is set up mutual priorities. So this is really, really important. So when your boss, and we've mentioned this, when your boss gives you an assignment or a task or a project to do, review where it sits on the priority list. So when he comes up and says, oh, Sally, you need to do this, I need it by Friday, you as Sally need to turn around and say, okay, boss, I just want to confirm I've got project XYZ, I've got task 1, 2, I've got these rosters to do and machine 4's broken down. Do you want me to drop that What is your priorities for what I need to do with this particular thing you're bringing to me? And just make sure they reiterate the priorities for you. Also, give an estimate of how long it's going to take. You want this by Friday. It's actually a two-phase task. I can get you the first phase by Friday, and I can get you an outline of what the second phase will be, but that's going to take a couple more days. Okay, so estimate the time it's going to take you. Don't just take what his timing or her timing that they've given you, because it's really, really important that they might consider only takes 3 days. When you look at this project, it's actually going to take 6 or 7. So make sure that you do that. It has to be agreed that that is going to be the new priority by both of you, because what you don't want is then you drop everything without telling him or her. You do this priority, and then machine number 4 is still broken down 2 days later or whatever, and then he comes up to you, why is it? So make sure those conversations are set up front. Really, really, really important. And make sure that you work together on prioritizing what's going to be done first. All right, the other thing I want you to do is be proactive in solving problems. So I know that your boss is going to come to you with all this convoluted and complex type stuff, and there's going to be issues in there that you're thinking, we can't do that because of that, we can't do that because of that. So what I want you to do when you go into the office and see your boss, I don't want you to say, we can't do that because of that, and that be the end of the conversation. I want you to go in there and say, we can't do that because of that. However, what we can do is A, B, and C. So I want you to go in solutions focused, have already in mind what you can do and how that will impact this particular project. Okay, so that's what I mean by be proactive in solving problems. So, so make sure that you go in there solutions focused and know that you've got either option 1 or 2 that you can go with that'll make this work. Okay. This might happen at the beginning of a project where you're seeing lots of things happening. It might happen in the middle of a project. So you're halfway through a project and all of a sudden these barriers come up, these blockages that you can't get through. Have a think about ways that you can get through it. It might be extra resource. It might be extra time. It might be you need collaborating with another department. Whatever it is, go into your boss and say, okay, we've had a delay on project XYZ because of ABC. This is the solutions that I've come up with. We collaborate with marketing to be able to get this out. We put an extra week on the end of the project so that we can make sure that we get the process in place, or whatever it may be. And you can say to them, so which one do you think would be the viable option for us to go with? Then all of a sudden you're problem solving and you're taking responsibility of how that project's going. Really, really important. So what's another one? Okay, number 7, use positive reinforcement. So as you're having these conversations and you up your communication with them and you go in solutions focused and you get them to prioritize and you're both speaking on the same page, then all of a sudden your boss might start having little subtle changes in the way that he starts speaking to you. Maybe it's not going to be so over demanding. Maybe it's going to be more conversational, whatever it may be. Praise that when it happens, because that's the behavior you want to have repeated, right? So if you want behavior repeated, you need to encourage and praise that behavior. And then, you know, people actually thrive off encouragement. So it doesn't have to be, you know, over the top, you know, jumping up, shaking his hand or whatever. It might just be, you know, when they come in and say, oh, you know, Sally, I know you've got project XYZ and you're doing that task too. Once you've finished those, I've got another one for you here. You can say, oh, do you know what? Thanks for making sure that I knew the priorities on that. That's brilliant. Well done. Or whatever it may be. Okay, so you're just doing these little subtle praises, and then hopefully that sort of behavior will continue. Okay, last but not least, celebrate your success out loud. Nobody else is going to blow your trumpet for you. If you feel like you've got this project in on time and on budget, task 1, 2, 3 is absolutely blown out of the water and fantastic, you've got the machine up and running, you know, go and say that, hey, boss, just wanted to let you know that project's been completed and we actually saved more than we thought we would. And that task that we got that was due in on Friday, we actually got that deadline on Thursday. So, I'm feeling pretty happy with everything at the moment. So just simple conversations like that where you're going to celebrate your success out loud, because honestly, people need to know the hard work that you're doing. And if that means you have to say it, that's great. It doesn't have to be egotistical. It doesn't have to be that you're showing off. It's just you're stating the facts, and you are confident enough to say, hey, I'm pretty pleased with that, of how it went, and these are the learnings we've got from it, and this is what we'd do slightly differently next time. But I think it was a bang-on job. That's all you need to say, because they need to be aware of all the great things that you're doing. It's really, really important. So you can do this verbally, you can do this via reports that you might be putting up, however makes you feel comfortable, really. But make sure that you do celebrate that out loud. Okay, so there we are, dealing with an over-demanding boss. Let me tell you, you're not in a very great situation if you've got an over-demanding boss, especially if you're starting to be at the end of your tether. You're feeling tired, you're feeling fatigued, you're feeling frustrated. So know that this is not going to be a short-term solution. This is going to take a while for the behaviours to change. But if you keep chipping away at it, if you try and get a little bit of a thicker skin, but almost demand prioritization, that you're both on the same team, make sure your communication is up. Don't just stop talking to him because he's, making you really angry. Make sure you keep that communication up, and you ask for what's the priorities, what's the expectations. This new task has come down the line. What do I drop? What do I need to change? And just keep that going. And celebrate your success out loud. All right. So I hope that's helped. And welcome back again for 2019, our Nuts and Bolts series. Great to have you guys here. I'm looking forward to having a weekly video update for you every week. And remember, it's still the same. So if you've got an issue in your workplace, if you've got a problem that you can't solve, if something's frustrating the actual hell out of you, then send me an email at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com, and we will put it on a video for you and give you some tips and hints. So I hope that helped for today. Again, Happy New Year, everybody, and we will speak to you bright and early next week. Take care. See you. Bye.